This is the worst ICE raid of the history of this country.
Are you kidding me? Look at him! Get back right now! Stop!
It's happening in Minnesota today, but it will happen in your community tomorrow.
We don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from.
What is happening in Minnesota is not only to intimidate us, but is to also send a message to the rest of the country. Hi, I'm State Senator Zainab Mohammed, and I represent Senate District 63 in South Minneapolis. I represent a district that's very organized compared to most districts in the state, I think. We have the highest voter turnout, which means people in our community are very interconnected to what's happening in the world, and they're also very connected to their neighbors. People are angry. We had a town hall Monday where we had 500 people show up, and one of my neighbors is like, what is the point of government if they can't even do the basic decency of giving an individual who's just killed by ICE, their family, a thorough investigation? What is your role? That's, I think, the feeling that so many of my neighbors have. They feel angry at the failures of our government in this moment to do the right thing. I haven't had time to, I think, process how I'm emotionally really feeling. I think we've had a really difficult year and a half. The mass shooting at Annunciation, for me, I think shaped what this moment is, and for me, what I can do internally for people. The principal of that school, after the shooting, said, he quoted an African proverb that said, when you pray, move your feet. And so you sort of ask the community in this moment to just take action. When ICE got here and started terrorizing our immigrant neighbors, what I have always come back to is that saying, when you pray, move your feet. And so I just moved my feet.
How many of those families were not receiving services prior to this withhold?
For me, service comes from sort of the life that has been given to me. I was born in Somalia. I came here when I was 9 years old, and I'm 28 today, but I think between 9 and 28, I've spent over the course of those years learning how to learn the language in this country and learning to live with my neighbors, but also understanding that I have such a different life than people back home. And I think that's sort of where it comes from, where I feel an obligation to give back, to do what I can to serve people. If you ask most Minnesotans, they would tell you that the things that are coming from the federal government and the president are false.
We're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country.
A lot of states have sort of gone through what Minnesota has gone through, but I think we have it the worst. This is the worst ICE raid of the history of this country. What I would say to anyone else in the country who's watching is, it's happening in Minnesota today, but it will happen in your community tomorrow. If you don't speak up, if you don't see Minnesota as an example, if you don't do the right thing, it will happen in your community. And so staying silent is not an option for anybody in this country, because what is happening in Minnesota is not only to intimidate us, but is to also send a message to the rest of the country. I was inspired to run for office because George Floyd was murdered on the streets of Minneapolis. One night, it was after Ramadan, I had broken my fast. I was laying on my bed and I watched a video on Facebook and watched a black man sort of die in front of the world while screaming for his mom. And the days following, I was out there with my neighbors, thousands of us, demanding justice and accountability. What is happening today with the ICE raids is sort of similar, right? You're seeing people die on our streets. You're seeing justice be delayed for those individuals and their families. But what you're also seeing is the same Minnesotans who just went through this 5 years ago come back and organize, because they understand that organizing is the best way to hold people accountable. I was there the day Renee Good was killed, and I just watched thousands of people trickle into the space. And the days following, you watched the community shut down the street. You've seen thousands of people come from, whether it's the Iron Range, St. Cloud, Central Minnesota, Southeast Minnesota, everywhere. People who often don't even come to Minneapolis, don't work here, don't live here, saw a woman be killed on TV, and they watched the federal government to lie about her murder, and they showed up and said, that is not acceptable. What I have heard from protesters when I'm on the ground who come from different states is, they say, I want to know what you guys are doing differently, because it will come to my city, and when it comes to my city, I want to know how to protect my neighbors. So we've watched many people come and learn from the organizers here on the ground, which I think has been a beautiful sort of way for people to get connected across the country and to protect themselves. We've also had organizers from Chicago come and tell us what they have done so we can protect ourselves better. I live 7 minutes from Whipple, and a lot of my neighbors get up in the morning. They get up and they go and they feed people and they protest peacefully, and they come back home and they do a food drive and they reconvene. It's also a community that a few months ago went through the mass shooting of Annunciation. They haven't even had time to heal from that. They haven't had time to heal from June 14th, but they're still resilient and showing up. In moments of despair, people show up and they do good, and that's what they're doing.